small card on Thursday did not treat us well, but we got a nice little slate coming up here on the weekend. A lot of good matchups, trade deadline getting dicey, more teams going sellers. Mets announced they're coming sellers last night. They give up Robertson. Don't think it was much of a secret, just kind of waiting on it to happen. And we'll see which teams going on throughout the weekend kind of make that commitment. A lot coming up this weekend, John. Lots to like on this slate. I know we got a lot to get to here.
Yeah, big day, big hot day. That's why I got the wife beater on today. East Coast is suffering. Heat index is over 100. But yeah, get back to the Mets last night. We knew they were sellers. This team is done. Just a tough L we'll take in that game. 1-0 lead late into the 8th inning. And with Robinson, that basically their closer getting traded, they didn't have him available. Who you need in a close game, we take the L. That's a tough one. The other one we're just going to take. Ohtani's a monster. That's why everybody give the world for him. Complete game, shutout, one hit in the game, and then comes back and hits a couple of dingers in game 2. So that's why this guy's the most talked about guy. So we'll take that L with the Tigers. We took plus 134 in that game. That game closed. The best you could take was plus 109 at game time. So every shop in the world was on the Tigers. We just got beat by the best player in the world right now. So we'll just chalk that one up. So a couple of L's after a real good Wednesday. We're back at it Friday. I've got 3 bets already with a couple of more on the horizon.
And we can go ahead and dive right in. We got Phillies and Pirates, first game on this card here. Both teams pretty cold right now. Phillies started to heat up a little bit. They won 3 of 4, snapped the 4-game losing streak. Pirates, they're 3-3 on the trip they went on. They won that last game 3-2 at San Diego. Phillies almost match up a little bit. They won 10-12. They won the last 4 at Pitt last season. This is got to be a chicken soup series for them. Got to get right. Got to get some wins to stay competitive in this wild card. Wheeler versus Keller. Wheeler, 3 straight quality starts. He gets the pitching edge, 22 Ks, 1 walk in that stretch. And Keller, last 2 starts, just miserable. 14 runs, 5 homers in 11 innings. Pitching edge Philly, matchup ownership Philly. Numbers too high to lay Philly in this one, but still wouldn't want to be any part of Keller and the Pirates here. I've already sold a little bit, and I imagine they're going to try to see what else they can sell throughout the weekend.
Yeah, following Ben, I got to sound like a parrot because he hits all the right points. Exactly. Pittsburgh, they just dealt Santana over to Milwaukee, who's still got Rowdy Talese on the IL. Need that left-handed bat at first base. Santana gone. Pirates did a good job out on the West Coast, took a couple from San Diego, but Philly, against Philly right now, a team that's in it. San Diego wasn't there, a dead team. Just Wheeler pitching mismatch. 2 pitches going completely different directions. A couple of starts ago, Keller was great. Last 2 has been absolutely annihilated. The number is, it says it's too high, but you got a playoff team going into the playoffs against a dead team, pitching mismatch. We'll stay off this one. There's better spots than this today.
That's Nats at Mets. Nats. Yeah. Mets pull it out last night 2-1, as we mentioned before. They do that after the rain delay, so that's a little something going on there. And then we already mentioned the Robertson trade. We'll see who else gets dealt. Scherzer on the bump today. He could be one of the guys being dealt. He's free agent at the end of the year, so it wouldn't be more of a rental. We'll see if any of these teams go out and get him. He's had a rough July, 1-2, 5.25 in 4 starts, give up 5 runs off 4 homers his last time out versus Red Sox. He has been great at home this year, though, 2-0, 2.36, and he has decent numbers there against the Nationals. Gores, 5 shutout innings his last time out before that roughed up. This is Mets team. Big price for a Mets team, and you're paying for a price of Scherzer's name, not as much the production. Still giving him the pitching edge over Gore, just not as drastic here. And as we saw last night, this Mets offense isn't letting anything up. So we'll see if Nats can bounce back, get back in the win column. They've split 8 meetings this year. They've split 4 games in New York, and with that, can't make this big of a favorite with how even the matchup is.
Yeah, this is again, look at the stats, don't look at the names. She hasn't been so far in July, and that's what happens to older pitchers as that summer wears on. Just cannot pass taking this 175 number. That's what we took in the game, a 2-unit bet. Just give me 1 second, guys, as we're watching some movement here. The Mets, once you make that first move, they just got rid of Robertson, their closer. That's now it's in everybody's head. Who's next? Verlander, Scherzer, 2 names that are talked about. They're 2 big guys. So we'll see how that goes. It's an overlay. Mets are done. Mets are not in the playoff chase. They're a seller, a huge number. I'll take Orioles. Had very good success against the Mets so far this year. Big number. We got the Nationals plus 175.
The Brewers at Atlanta, and the Braves, after foot on the gas down the end of the first half, now dropped 7 of 10. And they are, they have the largest lead of any division leader in MLB right now. So they're kind of just cruising down the stretch here. We'll see what point they snap back out of it. Brewers are playing good ball right now. They went 3-3 on the homestand. The bats definitely cooled off there. They're getting some big pitching performances. Hauser versus Chirinos. Hauser, they won his last 3 starts. Last one was a quality start versus the Braves. He had a quality start versus them last season. And Chirinos making his first appearance here for Atlanta. Spent the season with Tampa Bay. They released him to waivers. 3 July outings, give up 6 runs off 4 homers, 8 in the third. Hauser gets the pitching edge. Brewers get the team edge right now. I mean, Atlanta, talk about second best offense in baseball this season. They're hitting just 221 this week, scoring under 3 runs per game during this stretch. Would have to be Brewers or nobody here. Big price for a team who's in it. Braves kind of just cruising right now. We'll see at what point they kind of get aggressive again.
Yeah, Hauser just pitched a gem against them last week. He was the only pitcher from Milwaukee to take a game from Atlanta. But as Ben said, it's a different Atlanta team. They're coming out of the break. They got a 10-game lead in the NL East. They lead the Dodgers by 6.5 games for the best record in the NL. Milwaukee, they're in a dogfight with Cincy.
Yeah.
And Atlanta's not coming with a game. Just that Milwaukee needs this game. Definitely pitching advantage for Hauser over Kronos, who's getting lit up at Tampa. They released him. That tells you all you need to know. Tampa needs pitching, and they released him. We're on it. We're on the Brewers at this one, plus 157 from I had to beat the bookie guys. They literally hit this as we sent this one out. This game went right down to as low as 145. Has come back up just a little bit, but I like the Brewers in this spot.
Yeah, at this point of the season, teams like Atlanta, Tampa Bay, we're starting to see them slide after the hot start, and a lot of value in these teams like Milwaukee, Cincy, the whole AL wild card race. These teams who are fighting for spots, just a bit different than a team with a 10-game lead in the division. Cubs and Cardinals, another example of that. Cubs team just right back in it now, red hot right now, taking care of business here against the Cards. Crushed them 10-3 yesterday. They've won 6 of the last 8 meetings. Cubs now, they've won 6 straight. They're hitting over 300 this week, scoring over 7 runs per game. Best offense since the All-Star break, and they're keeping it going. Going to be Montgomery for the Cards. Still no pitcher announced yet for the Cubbies. I'm seeing a soft open spot, and this is nowhere near a true number yet of the Cardinals being a favorite in this game. And if the Cardinals are a favorite in this game, it doesn't really matter who the Cubbies are throwing, what their offense is doing. I'll be on the Cubs today. Montgomery been brutal against the Cubs this season. 2 starts, roughed up a little bit. Last year, absolutely owned them, 3-0.000 ERA. So didn't give up an earned run against them last season, been roughed up by them twice this year. We'll see which one of those continue. But either way, this Cubs offense going right now, it's them or nobody.
Yeah, Cardinals, they've cost us 2 bets in the last couple of days. So the finale in Arizona, we're ready to punch the Cardinals in, and they rest Arenado, making us think, okay, he's trade bait, which he's definitely trade bait. They're talking about him in trades. So we can't bet St. Louis without Arenado in the lineup, and they score 11 in the game, and they crush the D-backs, just putting enough room for fear in our head. Do we want to bet against St. Louis? Because they're not dead. They showed up at Arizona, even without Arenado, and put 11 on the board. Stay off them last night, and sure enough, Cubs just pounded out. Cubs are red hot. Everybody's talking about Stroman and Bellinger leaving. Maybe the Cubs are in it. Oh, he said it yesterday. I think it all has to do with this series. So mark one up. I don't think you're seeing Cubs make any moves till I would bet they're not making any moves till after this series. And right now they got a couple more to go through the weekend. If they do well here, I don't think they're sellers. It's Cubs or nobody, but obviously that's going to depend on the line and who the pitcher is. So when we say Cubs or anybody, it may mean nobody depending on that. But I don't want the Cardinals, a team that's out of it. They're going to be sellers against a team that's absolutely red hot, the Cubs.
Red hot. And then keeping it there essentially, this Reds team going on over to the Dodgers. Cincinnati, they're playing good ball. They're 6-2 their last 8. They did drop 2 of 3 against the Brewers. But outside of the Brewers, they've been playing great ball for the last 2 months. I mean, on the road, their last 21 road games, 16-5. 4 of those 5 losses are against Milwaukee. So Just really good against the road or on the road lately. We'll see if that continues. Dodgers, they're having some woes right now. They've lost 3 of 4, scoring 4 runs per game. Williamson versus Miller. Williamson's been really good in July, 2.25 ERA. Last 2 both quality starts. Dodgers did rough him up earlier this year, and Miller, who's coming off a quality start versus the Rangers, he allowed 3 runs in 6 innings there. Prior to that, really brutal 7+ ERA in 5 starts. Massive price. Dodgers don't have the pitching to be this big of a price right now. Really haven't had the pitching all year. They've been super banged up in that territory. They're still getting aggressive at the deadline. Miller's been one of their better, more consistent guys, but even still, it's not good enough to be this big of a favorite against a Reds team who's been doing damage.
Look, Miller had a decent a quality start, the bare minimum quality start, 3 runs in 6 innings against the Texas Rangers team with the best offense in baseball. But let's go back to his 5 starts prior to that, 2-2 with a 7.36 ERA, and he's got a 5.93 ERA at Dodger Stadium, a pitcher's ballpark. If Kershaw was pitching, this could be the price, and it would be a tinge high. It's way too high at this matchup. Yes, Dodgers deserve to be a favorite, not over 225 favorite. We're on the Reds in this one. This is our third 2-unit bet of the day.
A nice AL East matchup. Yankees going on to Baltimore. Some questionables here. Gunnar Henderson for the O's, and more importantly, Aaron Judge expected to return today. We're not confirmed on that yet. Waiting to see if everything's still on track. And he loves hitting in Baltimore. He's part of that reason they pushed that left field wall back. So we'll see what happens there. Pitching edge to the Yankees, and it's not close. Cole versus Rodriguez. Rodriguez has looked a bit better in his 2 starts back. First one roughed up a bit by the Dodgers. Second one, 2 runs, 5 2/3 versus the Rays. But a Rays team who has been just the second worst team in baseball in July. So how much can we give credit to that? We'll see. Cole's just had 4 quality starts all through July, 2.81 ERA, been very consistent. Does have bad history versus Baltimore. They split 10 meetings this year. Yanks with the pitching edge, and Baltimore's been winning with the pitching. The bats haven't been doing that much, hitting just 192 their last 6. So this is got to be Yankees or nobody, and especially if Judge is in the lineup, this is a bet on the Yankees.
So we'll give it out. This is what Judge means to the Yankees team. They are 30-19 with Judge in the lineup. That would project to be a 99-win team. Without him, 24-29. That projects to be a 73-win team. That's a big enough sample size to show you the effect that Judge has on this team. First game back, what can we expect from Judge? We'll see. Also, Gunnar Henderson, real big in this game because you already got their other big lefty bat, Cedric Mullins, on the IL. So we want to see if Judge, obviously, got to see if Judge is playing. You expect him to be activated, but if the least thing goes wrong in warmups, he won't be out there. If he runs on the field and that toe bothers him, they're not going to chance Judge out there after a $30 gazillion contract. So we'll wait and see, get notification he's in, and we'll see what's up with Gunnar Henderson.
Then Angels at Blue Jays. Shohei Ohtani, what a day yesterday. Complete game shutout and the 2 bombs like we mentioned at the start. Probably the most impressive games or performances I've watched in baseball. I don't even know. It's more impressive than a perfect game to me. You have him who left with cramping, so he's supposed to be probable. We'll see if that stays true. And then this Toronto team coming off a pretty decent road trip. They went 3-3. They took 2 of 3 against the Dodgers. The Angels had success at Toronto last year. They won all 3 meetings. Jays won 2 of 3 at Anaheim this year. We'll see if there's any continuation there. And Giolito, it's trade 2 days ago, already going to be making his first Angel start here. We'll see how it goes. Does have bad road numbers this year, 5.25. Had a good start versus the Jays this season. Was bad against them last year, 0-2, 12.1 ERA. And it's Gausman. Toronto has dropped all 3 of his July starts. He has a 4.24 ERA there. This is a weird game to get a read on. First, have to know Ohtani's in the lineup. That's pretty evident. Secondly, Giolito's first start with the Angels, definitely a weird spot there. Would be a lean of the Angels. I do not make this price this high. Need to know Ohtani's in the lineup. And then secondly, just what are we going to get out of Giolito here today? Not an ideal spot to back a pitcher, but this price might force me to.
Yeah, the numbers say at first glance it's the Angels. But we were under the impression Ohtani might sit game 2 of the doubleheader. Then when you hear he's leaving the game, you're like, The Angels are doing what the Angels do. Don't trade him until Ohtani's out. If there was just cramps, they're calling him probable today. But because I thought he might be out yesterday, you got to make sure he's in today. Look, they're coming off a doubleheader and traveling from Detroit to out of the country. Again, it's always a tougher travel to go up to Connecticut, to Canada. And then you've got Toronto, who's actually a day off yesterday. So they've got all the edge with that. Got to make sure, the numbers say bet the Angels, they're red hot. Toronto did okay, taking 2 of 3 from the Dodgers in their last series. Guzman got to see if he can get back on track. But this number is too high. Let's see if Ohtani's in the lineup. But again, bad spot for Angels coming off a doubleheader with a travel day yesterday.
Yeah, currently the Angels 3 games back of the Jays for that final wild card spot. So I'm sure if Ohtani's good to go, they want him in there. Then it's Guardians at White Sox. I mean, we already talked about this yesterday. This White Sox team is selling. Cleveland's in the hunt. That's just how the series read is, especially with Minnesota getting Kansas City. Cleveland right now 1.5 games back in the Central. It's Curry versus Toussaint. Curry making his 3rd start. He's not going deep in the game, so going to be a little bit more pressure on the bullpen. He's gone as far as 3 innings since April. We'll see if he goes anything further than that today. He's been decent, just nothing stellar. 1.54 ERA, just not deep in the game. So take that for what you will. And then Toussaint, something similar. He was using relief his last time out. Prior to that, had a start, gave up 5 runs in 6 innings. This is a road favorite, but it's Guardians or nobody here. Just 2 teams going opposite directions. White Sox have dropped 8 of 9. They're not scoring that much. And they're a team who's selling. So their whole entire roster is up for grabs for C6 pretty much. So everyone in that locker room has that thought if they're going to be moving their families this weekend.
Well, Curry had been a relief pitcher the entire year. And in his last 3 outings, 2 of them have been starts. He went 3 innings in each of those starts. So he's basically an opener, but he'll, instead of 1 or 1+ innings, he'll probably get you 3 if he throws decent enough. Sharps are on the short here. Sharps are on White Sox. So this number opened up 144 last night. Right now you're down to around 130. I don't see what they see in the White Sox. White Sox complete sellers already got rid of Giolito and Lopez out of the bullpen. More to come. Cleveland going for trying to keep up with the Twins in the Central Division. So while it's a bullpen game, still want no part of the White Sox in this spot. But as of right now, like I said, Sharps hit this on the overnight. It's at minus 130 right now.
Then we have Rays at Houston, and Rays just ice cold. Dropped 3 of 4, coming off a loss against the Marlins. 5-15, the worst, second worst record in July, and hitting just 203 their last 5 games. Astros, they've won 3 of 4, 6-2 their last day. 2 teams trending in opposite directions. And Houston has success in the matchup. They've won 8 of the last 10 meetings. McClanahan versus Javier. McClanahan gets a slight pitching edge for me, just very slight, though. Second start back from IL. He was roughed up for 5 runs in 4 innings versus the O's, had 3 walks. Prior to that, did have the quote. He started versus Texas, but even that game, Rays lost that. And I read this series very similar. McClanahan, bad history versus the Astros, went 0-2, 7.00 ERA versus them last year. Astros on this matchup, 2 teams trending different directions. Javier, good numbers versus the Rays. He's decent at home. Rays got swept at Texas, and that was at the time where Texas wasn't even playing that good a ball. Houston playing better ball than that right now, and I just imagine this is a spot for them to continue making up ground in both the wild card and the West. I like this spot here for the Stros today.
Yeah, the line is what the line is because what McClanahan did his last time out. Now, we had against McClanahan his last time out. What do we get today? Well, if we get the pitcher that usually shows up against the Astros, we're going to get a Houston win. Yandy Diaz was questionable. He missed his last game, just got noticed now. He'll serve as the designated hitter. He is in the lineup. So we'll wait to see if that takes the lineup back to Tampa Bay. This game opened minus 115. Houston Astros the favorite, and it went as high as 115. Tampa the favorite. It's come back down to about minus 110. Let's see when this info comes. If it gives puts a couple of pennies back on Tampa, it's Houston and nobody in this game, as Ben mentioned.
And then Twins at Kansas City. Probably the best favorite on the card today would be Minnesota. For anyone who wants to look at a big price, it's Gray versus Singer. Minnesota, they dropped 2 of 3 against Seattle, still 9-4 since the break. KC, they've dropped 7 of 8. And Twins, they've just done nothing but won in this matchup. They've won 9 of 10 meetings this year, and that's what you have to do if you want to win in the Central. their whole pitching staff really owns Kansas City. Gray, Ryan, Ober really have great numbers against them. Gray this year, 1 run in 11 innings versus them. Last year, he went 3-0 with a .47 ERA. And Singer is coming off a quality start versus the Yankees. Prior to that was roughed up for 10 runs in 2 starts. And Twins crushed him for 8 runs in April. He was good against them last year. Either way, this is just a team in the Central has to beat up on Kansas City if you want to win the division. They've done it all year. Gray's been dominant against them for 5 straight starts. I don't see that bucking today. Minnesota or nobody.
Absolutely. They've got a 1.5 game lead over the Guardians. They get Kansas City, a team they own, a team that Gray owns. Got to win this game. I've got no interest in KC, second worst home team in baseball. Twins are nobody. I'm not laying it, but Twins are nobody.
This to me is probably the toughest game on the card today. Tigers at Miami. It's Olsen versus Garrett. Garrett, after a dominant stretch in June, has just been struggling so far in July. Last 2 starts, 10 runs, 3 homers, and 7 2/3. Olsen, Tigers have dropped all 4 of his starts so far in July. Last time out, gave up 5 runs in 5 innings. Tigers coming off a doubleheader. And Marlins, they were the cold. They still are the coldest team since the All-Star break. But they're buyers. They go and get David Robertson last night. And we kind of saw that with the Angels a little bit. Once you make that commitment, it switches a situation in the locker room. So we'll see if that happens here for Miami. You're getting a cold Detroit team coming into town, not a best road team either. So this could be Miami's chicken soup to get back in the hunt. They're still just a half game out of the wild card. And once the front office says, hey, we're buying, that just switches things up. So will be Miami or nothing just based on that alone. Just not looking to back Garrett. He's been rough so far the last couple of starts.
Yes, Miami's making a statement by going out getting Robertson, but what are they doing letting Perez pitch in the minor leagues as we discussed yesterday? He's on a innings limit. He's still pitching in the minor leagues. Story for another day. Garrett smashed his last couple of starts. And if he wasn't, I could definitely lay the price with Miami. Detroit's going to come in limping in to Miami after a long doubleheader, getting abused by Ohtani in game 1. But yeah, Garrett has not been good, and he's not been good at home all year. I'll stay off this game. I think the price is right. Garrett just hasn't been pitching great. Olsen, no big deal for Detroit. They should get to him. Sanchez is questionable. He left the last game for the Marlins. I make it a tinge higher, but can't lay this one with the Marlins.
Then it's A's at Rockies. You guys know the story with Oakland, just lasting pretty much everything. I think the only stat they lead baseball in is they don't have a balk this year. They're the only team in the MLB without a balk this year. Outside of that, it's pretty brutal. Worst on the road, the last in scoring, last in hitting. And then this Colorado team playing decent ball right now. They dropped 2-3 against Washington, but they went 3-3 on the trip. Sears versus Freeland today. Both these teams aces. Sears, he's been solid in July, was roughed up his last time out, and he's been worse on the road this year. Then you have Freeland going. He's coming back from the IL. Not typically looking to back that, but it wasn't a long stint. He made a start back on July 9th, already coming back now. That was a quality start back on the 9th, so we'll see what he brings here today. He's better in Coors Field. Cheap price for the Rockies at home, considering they're playing the worst team in baseball. Rockies, though, they will be sellers, and the question is who's kind of going to be sold. They already have a lot of bats on the IL. Chris Bryant going back to the IL again. So Rockies lineups that just hasn't been complete since April. We'll see if they sell, what happens, who they sell, more importantly, I guess I should say. So wait for lineups on this game, but it will be Rockies or nobody.
Well, they already got rid of Pierce Johnson. That's who was their closer at one point. He went over to Atlanta. Atlanta getting their bullpen stacked. Freeland's going to be making his first start coming off the IL. You know we don't like being on these pitchers coming off the IL. We're expecting Sears to be the pitcher for Oakland, but he has not been named officially. So we'll wait to see in that lineup. This is the worst team in the American League playing the worst team in the National League. That's why I just hold my nose on this one, too. This one and the Detroit-Miami game, not two great matchups. We got better spots than these two.
And then Seattle at Arizona, a couple of teams on the cusp of being in it. Arizona, they've just been ice cold. Coming off a loss to the Cardinals. They've dropped 6 of 7, 5-14, their last 19. And the Seattle team been playing good ball right now. They've won 5 of 7. Gilbert versus Henry. Gilbert gets the pitching edge. He's just all or nothing. You're either getting a great start or a horrible start. Last time out was a horrible start, 5 runs in 5 innings, off 3 homers against the Jays. Prior to that was 3-0, 1.29 in July. So what Gilbert do we get today? We'll see. Has been solid on the road so far this season. And then you have Henry going for Arizona. he's coming off a couple of rough starts, both on the road. He's been decent at home, 1-1, 3.00 in 8 outings. Just don't want any part of Arizona. It's Gilbert. I mean, Gilbert could go to Arizona today, give it 5-6 runs. He does that. He has his bad starts, or he could go throw 7 scoreless. With the way Arizona's been going lately, would lean more so to the 7 scoreless. This would be Seattle or nothing for me.
Arizona had their shot against the Cardinals the other day with their ace on the mound, Galen, who was unhittable at home. No Arenado in the lineup, and they got torched. That they need to win that game to stop the slide. So Arizona now has lost 6 of 7, 5-14 in their last 19 games. Mariners have won the last 5 at Arizona. Even though this number is a little high for Mariners, I don't make them this high. I just don't want no part of the Diamondbacks right now. They're the falling knife. Don't want to catch them.
And then we have Rangers at San Diego. Rangers still figuring it out a little bit. They've dropped 4 of 6. They did crush the Astros in their last game, 13-3. We'll see if that just keeps their offense going on one of these, another ridiculous stretch that they've gone on multiple times this season. San Diego dropping 3 of 4. They dropped 2 of 3 against Pittsburgh. Bats have quieted down. Pirates, Nationals, Royals, only 3 teams to have not won 4 straight this season. Padres, Nationals, Royals, only 3 teams not to win 4 straight this season. So San Diego hasn't been able to get on any kind of a good stretch, and now they got to go against the best offense in baseball. Dunning versus Musgrove. Musgrove gets a pitching mismatch a little bit here. Dunning last couple of starts, 0-2, 6.32 ERA. Musgrove, 10 of 11 starts, quality starts, all 4 in July, 3-1, 1.80. Hasn't faced the Rangers since 2021, but all he did in that start was throw a no-hitter. So we'll see if there's any kind of a correlation to what he can do against them today. It is a bit different of a Rangers offense since then. Just still weird game to get a read on. Pitching mismatch, offensive mismatch for the Rangers. Big price for the best offense in baseball. Do you want to buck Musgrove is the question.
Do you? And I really don't with Dunning, but I may be forced to. As we talked about, Padres as well as head done. The Pirates put a fork in them that final game, taking 2 of 3 at San Diego. Soto, Snell, Hader, all mentioned in trades. You absolutely, I cannot bet Musgrove. It's Texas or nobody in this game. We'll be looking at lineups and where these lines go. Texas, even without Seager, put 13 on the board against the Astros against Valdez, their ace. Who we had Texas in that game. We knew Valdez still. He's not right. So that was an easy one for us. A little more challenging with Dunning on the mound. Don't know how you're going to be able to hit Musgrove, but there is no way I want the falling knife, and that's San Diego in this matchup.
And Red Sox at Giants to wrap up the card. It's Crawford versus Webb. Really is hot and cold with these two teams right now. You have this Red Sox team. They've won 4 straight. MLB best 14-5 in July. Their offense is crushing the ball this week. Their numbers do get a bit worse on the road, but lately been good on the road. And then July, 6-3 so far, the last 9 road games. So we'll see if that stretch continues. And then it's going to be Crawford, who's also good on the road, 4-3, 2.48 ERA, to give up 4 runs versus the Mets his last time out, but that was a home start. And Webb just absolutely throttled at Washington. He was on an unreal stretch there. It was 12 of 14 quality starts, I believe it was, over a stretch of 3 months. And finally just absolutely torched by the Nats. But he's been really solid at home this year, 4-3, 2.02. This Giants offense was just non-existent, and then they got the blessing of facing the worst pitching staff in baseball in the Oakland A's, so I need to see what their offense can do against a bit more proven big league arms. Either way, you got a road dog here in Boston. Sharp's already crushed this number, but even still at this lower price, at the bottom number, I would still be Boston or nobody.
This is the biggest move on the overnight in the Major League Baseball today. The game opened up minus 160 on the overnight last night, and right now you could lay 134 on this game at Sports 411 or Circa. Biggest move of the day, and it's on the Red Sox. Look, San Fran's just not hitting. Red Sox crushing the ball. We were on the Red Sox, beat the Braves. Just a different team on the road than they are at home. At home, top AL team as far, or they're third in scoring, top AL team hitting. On the road, though, hitting just 237 away from Fenway. So a little bit different team. Hitting the ball at 317 their last 5 games, but a different team on the road. The number to take was absolutely the opening number. The number's been smashed. This is the right price now. We'll stay off this one unless something else happens. Both teams in a playoff hunt. Both teams come for this game. Webb, I just thought you can't take 20 cents to get Webb at home. He's just too good at home. No, I see no value in that one. The value at plus 147 was there earlier.
And that's the MLB Friday card, guys. You guys know we're not here on the weekends, and there's a lot of information that's going to be coming out this weekend. On this card alone, the two best players in baseball, Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, we got to see if they're in the lineups. Just no big deal there. And then the trades and everything else that's going to be happening throughout this weekend. All that information, if you guys want to be updated throughout it, go to howtobeatthebookie.com, sign up there, become a member, or download the How to Beat the Bookie app. 3 bets out today so far, John, and I don't know, we're looking at a couple of other spots. Could be a big Friday for us.
Yeah, no, look, August 1, trade deadline. Things are going to be happening throughout the day. You got to remember, guys, we shoot this. It is now 11:56. We'll get this podcast up by 1 p.m. Any information that comes on after this, obviously you're not going to see it. So that's why you want to become a member. We're going to be rolling this weekend. Got to get last night's back. We expect the Nationals to get it done for us off of Scherzer. The other games are the Brewers and Reds, 3 big dogs today. Let's make some money.